I didn't call the cops. She did. And you want to hear something wild? It happened right after I took back my own pool key. You'd think a quiet Saturday morning wouldn't end up in a showdown. But that's exactly how it started. I walk over to the HOA's so-called private pool, the one built half on my property line, and there she is. Karen, propped up on a lounge chair, sipping a drink, looking like the self-crowned queen of the neighborhood, holding court with her friends and bragging about how she saved this community asset, like she paid for it herself or something. When I told her, calmly, I promise, that she was trespassing, she just smiled. Not a real smile, more like the kind a cat gives a mouse it's about to play with. You don't make the rules here. We do. That's what she said. So I just shrugged, walked over to the gate, turned the key, and locked her out. And let me tell you, that was all it took for the mask to drop. Suddenly she's shouting about property theft, dialing 911, waving her phone in the air like it's some kind of holy relic. What she didn't know was that my cameras had been recording every second, every threat, every time she enforced her rules on my land. And all of it was already backed up and time-stamped. Because it was never about a key. It was about control. And I was tired of pretending she had any over me. So, when the sirens finally showed up, neighbors peeking through blinds, everybody pretending not to be invested, I figured, okay, now we're all going to see who actually owns the gate. Funny thing is, I never wanted any of this. I just wanted to fix up an old place and live in peace. When I moved in, the duplex next door had been foreclosed and abandoned for years. The pool beside it, overgrown with weeds, green sludge in the deep end, fence practically falling down. Everybody else looked at it and saw a mess. Me? I saw a project, something I could bring back to life. I bought that place, poured my weekends into it, and fixed every inch with my own hands. That's when I found out the pool parcel came with the deed. County records, clear as day, my name, my taxes, my land. But the HOA? Oh no, they weren't about to let go. Turns out, during the years the property sat in foreclosure, they started collecting dues and managing the pool. Never gave it back when the sale went through. They got used to having it. Karen got used to being the boss. At first, I figured it was just a mix-up. I marched into the HOA office with my closing papers, smiling, trying to play nice. Karen, yeah, still her, didn't even look up from her laptop. Oh, you must be the new owner. Don't worry, we'll still take care of the pool for you. The way she said it made my skin crawl. I told her that wouldn't be necessary. Thank you very much. She just smiled wider, syrupy sweet. That's not how things work here, honey. And that's when it clicked. She wasn't about the rules. She was about territory. After that, man, it was like a switch flipped. Suddenly, I was getting notices for inspection required, dues pending, unauthorized property modifications. Each one more ridiculous than the last. I'd just spent months scrubbing algae off that pool, fixing the pumps, pouring concrete, rebuilding fences. And now she wanted to inspect it? I remember standing there with one of her neon yellow envelopes in my hand, feeling my blood boil. This wasn't about money or maintenance. It was about control. She wanted to decide what was mine. And if she wanted a battle over boundaries, well, she just picked the wrong fence line. You know, from the outside, this neighborhood looks perfect. Lawns trimmed like they're competing for yard of the month, houses painted the exact same shade of beige, neighbors waving just long enough to avoid real conversation. But there's a different kind of power at play. Quiet, careful, polite on the surface, but loaded underneath. You could feel it in every chat at the mailbox, every friendly reminder slipped under the door. I came here to get away from chaos, thinking a corner lot and a backyard pool would finally mean some peace. For a while it did. Mornings were calm, just the sound of sprinklers and birds, not sirens and shouting. Didn't even notice how often the HOA truck would roll by, snapping pictures of mailboxes and driveways. At first, it felt harmless. Then one afternoon, I got a white envelope taped to my door. Notice of violation. My front hedges, apparently, were 3 inches higher than regulation. 3 inches. I actually laughed. But not for long. The very next day, Karen herself knocked on my door, clipboard ready, sunglasses big enough to hide her eyes. Hi, Daniel. Just wanted to remind you. We take presentation seriously here. Her smile froze on her face. Good. I know you're new, so I'll let this one slide. We like things consistent, Consistent. That word echoed like a warning. After that, I started noticing more. The HOA truck parked across from my house. Karen walking her dog past my pool fence every morning. Always slowing down, always watching. Out of pure curiosity, I pulled my title docs one night, compared them to the HOA's property map. That's when I found it. A 4-foot boundary discrepancy. County records confirmed it. The pool? More than half of it sat on my land. At the next meeting, I brought it up. Politely. Explained there might be a mapping error, worth checking. Karen didn't flinch. We're well aware of the boundaries. Historic rights, you understand. The rest of the board just nodded. I tried to explain historic rights don't overrule a recorded deed. But nobody listened. She cut me off, pen tapping. Daniel, focus on compliance. That's what's best for everyone. That's how it started. Polite dismissal and superiority, so thin you could see right through it. The next day, another envelope, fined for unauthorized key duplication. Someone claimed I was making pool keys for the whole block, which was nuts. I barely even swam in it. When I called to clear things up, I got put on hold, then hung up on. When I emailed, no reply. In person? Karen's not available right now. Every time. Neighbors who used to wave now looked away. Conversations died when I walked up. It wasn't paranoia, it was real. The HOA didn't have to touch you to make you disappear. That's how the pressure started building. Flyers showed up announcing new rules: trash bins out by 7 a.m., holiday decorations by committee, pool access temporarily restricted for safety review. All of it targeting the one thing they didn't own, my pool. Karen started showing up more. Sometimes she'd wave at the gate. Sometimes she'd just stare. I caught her taking pictures through the fence slats. Just documenting community assets, she said. Community assets. My property. That night, I pinned my deed to the fridge, parcel number, lot boundary, easement rights, proof it was mine. But to Karen, paperwork meant nothing. Power was about fear. People whispered Karen had the city's ear, that she'd gotten folks fined for parking the wrong way, that she ran the block parties and quoted bylaws like scripture. We just want what's best for everyone, Daniel. You wouldn't want people to think you're difficult. Always delivered with a soft smile and a firm leash. And then the notices started coming fast. Unregistered equipment. Failure to respond to inspection. Pool misuse. Even gate tampering. Every letter was professional, intimidating, stamped with the HOA logo like a threat. I started keeping records, envelopes, voicemails, every conversation. Bought a camera, pointed it at the gate, labeled the footage. Backed up emails. It wasn't paranoia anymore. It was survival. Some nights I'd sit by the pool, just listening to the filter hum, thinking about how fast peace can turn to pressure when someone decides your land is their playground. I was raised to follow rules. But this wasn't about rules. This was about how Karen twisted law into suggestion and suggestion into command. She didn't want neighbors, she wanted subjects. And little by little, the neighborhood fell in line. If you've got nothing to hide, why not let her inspect? One neighbor asked. That's when it clicked. This wasn't about proving ownership. It was about surviving the social squeeze. They didn't have to win legally if they could win by wearing you down. But I was done folding. So I documented everything and waited. Ignored the notices. Let Karen dig her own hole. The friendlier her reminders, the more desperate she sounded. I realized it was never about land or money or bylaws. It was about power. And I was done being quiet. That's when things escalated. One morning, I spotted a small black lens, an HOA camera, aimed straight at my yard. Then another, aimed at my pool gate. I called the HOA. They said it was for security, but all the cameras pointed at my property, not the street. Surveillance, not safety. My partner Lena tried to talk sense into me. Maybe it's not worth it, Daniel. Let's just sell and start over. But every time I thought about walking away from land I'd fixed up, it made me sick. If we give in, they'll just do it to the next person, I told her. She stopped going outside. Stopped gardening. Even mowing the lawn felt like being watched. Then came the newsletter. Every mailbox, glossy, full color. Buried on the second page. Reports of an individual creating unsafe conditions near the pool. Please report. Suspicious behavior. Didn't use my name. Didn't need to. The next day, someone spray-painted "Follow the Rules" on my trash can. A neighbor parked his car half in my driveway. Doors closed when I walked by. I spent nights buried in papers, deeds, county codes, scrolling legal forms. Eventually, I found what I needed, a section of state law about exclusive easements and unauthorized encroachment. In plain English, the HOA can't touch land not deeded to them, no matter how long they've been managing it. I printed the statute, highlighted it, built a folder thicker than a Bible. The next board meeting, I showed up early, folder in hand. Karen greeted me, surrounded by her board, all nodding before she even spoke. I explained the property discrepancies, quoted the statute, showed them county maps. For a second, I thought she was rattled. Then she just smiled that cold smile. These matters are handled internally by qualified members. Let's move on. The room laughed. Karen didn't even look at me, just threw me. When I left, her parting shot was, perception matters more than paperwork. She wasn't wrong, not here. Not with a neighborhood ruled by narrative. After that, I stopped expecting fairness. I started building my own stage. Cameras, letters, evidence, everything backed up in triplicate. If she wanted a show, I'd give her one she couldn't. Rewrite. I started looking for proof. Hard, physical, undeniable. That's when I met Arthur, 3 streets over, retired land surveyor. Sunburned arms, voice like gravel. He was the only one who didn't look away when I waved. Ever do boundary checks for this HOA? I asked him one night. He laughed. Too many times. They always want the line redrawn their way. I told him everything, the fake fines, the cameras, the parties. He just nodded. Paperwork don't mean squat till you show him dirt. Next morning, Arthur showed up with a survey tripod and a battered notebook. We walked every foot of fence, every inch of pool deck. He marked the real boundary, flagged every corner, and gave me a signed coordinate sheet and a flash drive full of photos. Keep copies somewhere safe, he said. And when you're ready, don't just tell her, show her. Karen didn't slow down. Her newsletters got sharper, the parties louder, her community unity, banners popping up online with her name in gold. But the whispers started too. People asking if maybe she'd gone too far. Somebody texted me. For what it's worth, I know you're right. That was enough to keep going. A week later, Karen announced a big community appreciation pool party, members only, her name plastered everywhere. That day, I turned all 12 cameras on and watched her unlock my gate, let the crowd in, pose for pictures on my deck, laugh on my floats. And every second, every frame, was recorded. That evening, a folded letter slid under my door. Emergency HOA meeting. Attendance mandatory. No signature, just Karen's name in bold. She was setting the stage, counting on public perception to bury the truth. That night, the community hall was packed. Karen stood at the front, smile sharp as a knife. It's my duty to address a serious breach of trust, she began, gesturing toward me. This resident has unlawfully restricted access, stolen property, shown hostility. Whispers, gasps, her loyalists all ready to pounce. She turned to me. Would you care to explain why you believe you can seize community property? I stood up. Sure, but first let's talk about who actually owns what. Karen smiled, thinking she'd won. I walked to the front, opened my laptop. You said I endangered the community, that I stole property. But here's what really happened. She tried to object. You can't use personal media at a meeting without consent. I just shrugged. You never asked my consent to use my property. I hit play. Karen by the pool, glass in hand, laughing with her friends, audio and timestamp crystal clear. Her voice echoed. Another perfect day in our community oasis. Silence. Next clip. Her unlocking the gate, letting board members in. Laughter, music, 11 different dates. Somebody in the back muttered, "That's not her property." Karen snapped, "Turn that off. This is out of context." I slid a printed map across the table. County Assessor's GIS overlay, signed and stamped, boundary line clear. This is the property line. The HOA's been using my land for years. Arthur's signed survey, the clincher, confirmed everything. That's when the county records officer stood up in the back, badge clipped to his belt. We verified the parcel line this morning. That pool sits on Mr. Daniel's land. Karen's face drained of color. That's impossible. We've managed it for 15 years. The officer just shook his head. Management isn't ownership. The room buzzed, her loyalists muttering. Her board members quietly sliding their chairs back. The sheriff, same one Karen called weeks ago, walked in. I heard there's a question about property lines. Karen tried to rally him to her side, but he stopped her cold. I'm familiar with the situation. That report you filed, Karen? It's false. You used our department to intimidate a private citizen. That's called filing a false report. Phones came out. People started recording. Karen tried to protest. The sheriff cut her off. There's going to be an investigation into HOA misconduct. Her board abandoned her, one by one. You told us it was community property, Karen. You never showed proof. The illusion of control crumbled. The board voted to suspend all HOA authority pending legal review. Karen, trembling, begged the crowd. You think he's a hero? He's destroying everything. But the room was done listening. I packed my laptop, slid my folder away, and headed for the door. Karen's last shot echoed. Across the room, you'll regret this, Daniel. See what happens when there are no rules. I turned. There are still rules, Karen. You just forgot they apply to you too. People clapped. Not loud, but real. Outside, I could see phones glowing in the windows. By morning, the whole meeting was online. Reddit, Facebook, group chats. HOA president exposed for trespassing on neighbor's pool. Thousands of comments. Karen resigned. House dark. For sale sign up within a month. The HOA dissolved. The neighborhood switched to a voluntary association. No fines, no threats, just respect. I repainted the gate, hung a sign. Private property, shared respect. Neighbors came by with lemonade. Kids started swimming in the pool again. For the first time, laughter sounded real. I kept the rules simple. Respect the property, clean up, ask before inviting anyone. No HOA ever again. And that's all it took for peace to settle in. Weeks went by. No more envelopes. No more cameras. Karen's house emptied out. Moving truck came and went. No one waved goodbye. One morning, coffee in hand, I sat by the pool, watching the sun rise. For the first time, I saw my own reflection. Peaceful, not angry. That's what people like Karen never understand. Control isn't community. Respect is. Boundaries build trust, not division. Privacy and dignity. That's how. You fix a neighborhood, not by writing more rules. So, if you've ever had to fight for what's rightfully yours, if you've ever had to stand up to someone who thought power made them invincible, share your story below. Because every time one of us speaks up, another gate opens. And maybe, just maybe, that's how real justice spreads. Have you ever faced control disguised as community? Drop your story below. And if you want to see more stories where justice finally gets the last word, don't forget to subscribe.